We're ready to start installing and configuring plugins for our WordPress site. So let's get started with that. We know we want Jetpack, so let's search for and install that first. We will activate. And we will connect to WordPress.com. But we can't actually do that because I've got this site set up on a test domain that does not actually exist on the internet. But none of this really requires a lot of setup. I showed you how to set up the social networking. I've already done that, so we will assume that we can do that and move on. The next plugin I want to install is a security plugin, because security plugins should be installed before anything else. That way, when you install those other things, it can act as that barrier to malware and all those other potentially nasty things that could be installed under the worst circumstances imaginable. So we're going to install WordFence. And we will activate it. And we will move down to the WordFence configuration. And WordFence, when you install it, it gives you a tour. And it's a very easy to understand tour that works you through all the parts of getting started with WordFence. So we'll take a look at that now. It tells you what WordFence is and what it does, how to use WordFence, learn about live traffic, and we will end the tour there. But you can see here our live traffic would show up if we had any live traffic. We don't have any on this site. We can start a WordFence scan. Here we can look at options. That's our API key. That's a free key that's given to you by default. We will enable the firewall and login security and live traffic and scheduled scans. And we're going to put our email as the email where to send email alerts. We're going to look at our security level, and it looks like medium protection is going to be the best for us. Light protection is just the basics. I don't know that I would ever recommend anyone using that. It's just there for posterity's sake, I'm sure. If you see some attacks occurring, if you've got some odd behavior, use the high security. And when you've got a botnet bearing down on you, choose level 4 lockdown. That'll keep all those bad guys out. And we're going to look at these as well. And these may be advanced networking related options, and it looks like they probably are. Use PHP's built-in remote address. We'll use that one because it says to do so. We're going to save those changes. And move down to the next section. Alerts, those are fine. We're going to ignore that for now because we don't really have any real data to put in for the live traffic view options. Actually, take that back. We're going to ignore our own username, which is groundskeeper. And we could put our IP address here as well, but that's, if you're going to do the username, you don't need to do the IP address. Ideally, you would do the IP address above your username, but since we're just going to do the username here, we will skip the IP address. You could ignore certain browsers, you could ignore certain scripts, and that would be useful for anyone programming a script that may interact with a custom plugin. Now let's look at the scan settings. Scan public facing site. That's paid members only. This all looks good. And we're going to just use these default settings for now. If we find that something needs to be tweaked later, we can come back and do that. But we'll continue looking at more plugins in our next video.